So, MonsterVerze has had a whole situation with their chat channels that has led to some permanent changes on their Discord server, and we need to talk about it because this is a much bigger issue than I think people realize, and unfortunately, not a lot of people seem to understand the repercussions or potential, side effects of this kind of behavior. So, for some very quick background context, for those of you that don't know, ever since MonsterVerze's release, there's been a lot of chat shutdowns in their Discord server. Their Discord server is called Playgirldom, and it is basically the development firm's Discord server that owns the game. Now, I do want to clarify that the development team, like many of you guys may know, is a small development team, and I think people sometimes forget that, and so I do want to of course give them grace and to understand that they are a small team and they're still learning how to navigate this stuff just like everybody else, right? And basically what ended up happening was players upset with updates or bugs or whatever it may be was basically using different chat channels to air out their grievances, which it's okay to share your opinions. However, a lot of the rhetoric that was going on was very harmful with racist undertones. There was homophobia. There was allegedly, which I'm not sure, nobody has really spoken to this, but I received reports and screenshots, but I'm not sure if they're real, of people saying that there was inappropriate images being sent in chats as part of like a rating system or people trying to purposefully cause issues for the game. It was basically a whole situation that led to the game having to shut down their channels several different times. And typically the channels would be shut down for a couple days and then reopened, with, a scolding like, hey guys, get together, please, right? However, in the most recent events of what occurred, there was a lot of aggressiveness, a lot of bullying, a lot of nastiness, and in response to that, the dev team had to shut down the general chat. However, they did leave some chatting channels open for people who had contributed to the game prior, so Ko-fi donors and other people who owned VIP access to the game. Which I feel like this is a very polarizing situation, and my opinion about it is still kind of iffy. However, I understand that when people pay money for something and they are promised a feature, they should have access to that feature, and I 100% agree with that, and so I believe they should have access to those chat channels. However, the issue that arose was that certain people in those chatting rooms, not all, but certain in the chat channels that were still open, were actively bullying people in the server by talking badly about them, taking screenshots, being really nasty, saying mean things, and nothing was being done about it by moderation. Either they weren't seeing it or maybe ignoring it. I don't know. I would err on the side that they probably just didn't see it because they're already dealing with so much. But regardless, it turned into a giant issue where screenshots are being leaked, people were seeing the stuff these people are saying about them, and there were calls to action for MonsterVerze to take out their chatting channels. What ended up happening was MonsterVerze actually did remove access to those channels momentarily during that process and during the backlash, and they recently released an update as of November 19th regarding their next steps and what the server will be for going forward. And I want to read with you guys because I think there is some obviously important updates that we need to go over, and I hope that going forward there'll be a lot less bullying because at the end of the day, yes, a server has an obligation to make sure that their space is safe for everybody, but at the same time, you cannot constantly police and, scold people on why they have to be decent human beings. People have to learn that on their own, and unfortunately not, there won't be any environment online where it will always be 100% positive or safe because that's just not the nature of the online space. So with that in mind, this was posted by one of the developers for the game. So the announcement reads, hello goals, today brings some information and news. Tickets are now open, you need to be level 3 in the server to access it, you get levels through chatting. And then they link this channel here, which is a no access channel, so I feel like maybe that's a glitch, because they do have a chatting channel for the general public down here, which we'll get into in a second here. We apologize for having you all wait this long, but we finally opened tickets back up. Now you can send a ticket regarding server concerns, game bugs, and if you were part of our Ko-fi, there's also a ticket button for you. Do keep in mind that the bot doesn't let you make a ticket. That means the system has reached its limit until we start closing some down. But don't worry, we'll be constantly checking them and allowing more people to make more as we close older ones. Make sure to read. Okay. What's going to happen to the bug reports channel? Since we now allow bug reports to be made through our ticket system, the bug reports channel will no longer be available for you ghouls to make posts in. You are still going to be able to view all posts and search for bugs to see if devs are aware or if they're being fixed, but now we're going to be handling these through tickets. Which I'm not saying that this was done because of me. I'm certainly not alluding to that. However, this was the biggest tip that I provided in my last video where I talked about this, where the bug reports and stuff like that have to be done privately. Because when you allow stuff like that to be public, people will stir each other up. They'll wind each other up, like just make people more and more antsy by talking about it more. And it opens up avenues for people to be harmful, nasty, negative. And I found especially thread channels or like the posting channels are so hard to moderate because there's so many little mini chats underneath threads and stuff like that. It's just very confusing and would be really hard for anybody to moderate. So I'm really happy that, I don't know if I doubt they saw my video, but that they've obviously taken some community feedback into consideration and that they are now making bug reports and all reports a private endeavor. Now, I believe maybe they may be using the same ticket bot as I do, which does have a cap on how many tickets you can have open at once. But I feel like that will help with, streamlining the ticketing process, because instead of there being like 1,000 tickets, there's a lot less, so it's easier to go through, and you can kind of sort through things in the order in which you receive them instead of what is, what is getting the most interaction, right? Because I think a lot of the issues that I saw with like the previous bug reporting system was that people were saying that their tickets were being, or their posts were being ignored because other people were posting so much, it was like hiding their posts. However, with this ticket system, everybody has an equal opportunity to be viewed and have their issue looked into, which I think is very, very, very good. And they go on to say, frequently asked questions is now open. Do you have any type of question regarding our game or more about our server? Then feel free to read all our current FAQs we posted. We'll most likely keep updating and adding more as the weeks go by. This way, instead of making a ticket, you can go directly to the forum and search the question and receive an answer. They are also color-coded, so you know which ones are game-related or server-related. Make sure to read frequently asked questions for more information. Awesome. I think that was definitely needed, especially since I find a lot of stuff can be pretty confusing regarding Vim or, you know, certain purchasing mechanics in the games. This will definitely be very helpful for anybody who's confused. They go on to write this a little bit later, a couple minutes later. It says, for those who are concerned about not being able to open a ticket right now, due to the cooldown since we just opened chats, it might seem a little difficult, but you'll reach the level pretty quickly once cooldown is lowered. Don't worry. We made this decision due to safety precautions and overall for more organization. Which again, cooldowns, like I discussed in my last video, very needed. You know, I don't have chat channels because I don't have the means to be hiring moderators. However, cooldowns are super, super helpful at helping, you know, your server avoid being raided, because then people can't just spam inappropriate images and they can't just spam like messages with like the same derogatory word over and over. So that is great. They go on to say, can someone else that already reached level 3 make a ticket on my behalf? Yes, or you can send a mod in chat. You can see a mod in chats. Feel free to ask if they can pull you into a ticket. So awesome. Fantastic. Then they have some information on the bugs and ongoing bugs that they are aware of in the game. Information on bugs. We are aware of all bugs shared in #bug reports, so don't worry. They're going to be fixed through our updates. Issues with body bases. Roblox has moderated our newer body bases again, so we had to use older ones, and that's why clothing/texture/items don't work properly. We are trying our best to get them improved. Runway mode is still glitchy/broken. Scripters are aware. We're going to roll out bug fixes as the days go by. The game mode should now be pretty much in a better condition than it was the first day released, but some bugs may still occur. Face problems. This is correlated to our body base issue mentioned above. Should get fixed soon. Clothing items being broken. We are also aware our 3D modelers are working hard on fixing those, and system problems. If you're having a problem with the interface of the game, this is also something we are working on. An update for mobile users not being able to press settings will be out soon. So with that in mind, they've obviously taken a lot of time to try and address the community concerns, and I certainly think that that is a massive, massive step. Now, the chatting channel, at least from what I've seen, like as I've been recording this video, it is very active. There's a lot of people chatting in it. There's messages coming in every other second, and I think that's awesome, and it looks like it's actually pretty tame. I'm not seeing any hateful, nasty comments, which I also think the leveling system is really smart, because that way, if someone's like trying to come into the server with the intention of hurting people or causing issues, they won't be able to chat right away because they need to actually level up and, you know, take some more time to actually have more access to the server, which will help with botting, raids, and just people spamming. So with that in mind, I want to know your guys' thoughts on these updates. What do you think about the new bug fix system? Do you think this will help the game? Do you think the game should be made solely, or the server should be made solely into communication server? Personally, I understand that community-based games need to have channels to talk, and I think that is something that is fundamental to any game that relies on other people playing it for it to function. However, you know, I think if there's continued issues, which right now it seems like it's all good, but if there are continued issues of people abusing the chat or just becoming out of hand, hateful, bullying, whatever it may be, right? I do think at that point they would have to just fully close the chat. I feel like if you have to close the chats again, it's just not worth having them. It doesn't make sense. Maybe make it official Reddit or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but regardless, I am hopeful that these updates will help to, you know, avoid additional bullying, harassment towards the moderators, towards the devs, will help, you know, players feel more heard and respected. And I think this is a really good update altogether. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!